Have you ever wondered what to do or where to go when you're dealing with a loved one that's suffering with an addiction?
Today, we're going to go ahead and give you 3 recommendations to help you.
So let's get into those recommendations. Number one, you need to educate yourself on addiction.
Yes.
You have to read books. You got to, like today, commend you.
Yeah.
You got to look at videos. You have to seek out ways of starting to educate yourself on what is addiction. What are the characteristics, just like we're doing today? The more you know, the more you will know how to handle and how to interact with the person that's suffering.
And just to say that this is not easy. I mean, you're fighting something that kills people.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to die. So this is huge. Okay. You really want to study. You don't want to go in, you don't want, if your kid has cancer or someone you love has cancer, you want to understand what's happening to them because you love them so much. You really want to understand this because it's going to take you down as well. You're just going to think you're crazy. So you really want to study.
Yeah. And there was a time when I was learning about addiction, dealing with that in some relationships. And I read a couple of books that really helped me out and helped me understand how to work with it, how to behave with the person, how to love the person, and how to help them get some help and how to take care of myself. Look, we have two books that we're going to recommend to you as resources to educate. One is Melody Beattie wrote a book way back when called Codependent No More.
That's great.
And it's had over 5 million copies. We would highly recommend that if you're in relationship with someone who's suffering. It'll help you really set proper boundaries and do all kinds of things. Excellent. The other book, yes, Roadmap to the Soul.
Yes.
That's the book that Holly Kim and I wrote together. But really why it's so helpful in this context is that it can help you understand the inner life of someone that's suffering with an addiction.
Yeah. And help you understand yourself because we can become addicted to them.
Yeah.
And that becomes scary.
So we have links in the description down below if you're interested in either of those, and really encourage you to get those if you really feel like you need to increase your education about it. So that's the first recommendation we have for you. Our second one is this: get an outside perspective. When we're dealing with someone that's in an addictive system, oftentimes that whole system is being impaired and has a certain level of minimization, what we would call denial. And that it's when you start to get an outside perspective, you need to get someone outside of the system to be able to help you with that. We have a couple of suggestions for that. One is you could see a professional counselor, not just a professional counselor, but one that's trained in substance abuse. There's a lot of counselors out there that are actually clueless about how to deal with addiction.
That's right.
You know, many of them I'll say, you know, since Holly Kim and I are trained in that, we get referrals from other counselors. And they'll call and tell us, look, I don't know nothing about this. I don't want to deal with this. Right. This is way past my pay grade. And therefore, I'm referring them to you. So know that you want to make sure you find a professional, but may ask the qualifying question. Are you familiar with substance abuse and treating substance abuse? And are you familiar with addiction? The second outside perspective is perhaps a pastor, a minister, a priest that you're connected to, that can give you some outside perspective and resources. The third resource that can be really helpful is most cities or regions have a local council on alcohol and drug abuse. And so that can be a really invaluable resource. They might have programs that you can get involved with. They might have educational material. They can point you some different resources in the city, talks, and sometimes treatment centers do the same. So get yourself an outside perspective. The third thing, or the third resource that we encourage you to do, is Join a support group meeting.
Yes, definitely.
You joined a support group meeting?
Oh God, yes. Yes. Al-Anon is fantastic. And
It's a
having
12-step
it's a
program,
12-step
right?
program. Exactly. It's free. It's free. It's a fantastic way to be in a room and learn from others that have in the experience, that have gone through it, that are studying, that are working on themselves so they don't get caught up in it, and that they can know how to communicate. Because I mean, there's times when we have to separate ourselves from the people that are, abusing. But that's not the goal. The goal is to help them get back, and not to be in the circle of the addictive modality. So that allows us to pull ourselves out and have a clear view and be able to not feel crazy.
So here's some support group meetings. Holly can mention the 12-step program, Al-Anon. There's also a newer one that's really wonderful. It's called Celebration Recovery.
Yeah.
It's based on the 12 steps, but it's often connected to a church.
Right.
And it's facilitated.
It's a
Christian based organization that integrates 12-step support. And you can do a search on your search engine, Celebration Recovery near me, and it'll give you some group meetings. The third is online recovery groups.
Yes, they have a lot of online recovery groups, and you can do a Zoom. I have a good friend that she's been sober for a long time, and when COVID hit, she started doing Zoom meetings all over the world, and she would just go to the English speaking one. So she could be in a group in Amsterdam or England or Ireland. She said it's awesome.
Yeah, so like I'm working with a guy. I was working over Zoom with a guy from a small town and was struggling with an addiction. And he wasn't interested in everybody in the small town knowing that he had an addiction. So I got him connected to online support group meetings. And he really took off with that. It was so helpful for him. Gave him the support that he needed to stay on track. And so that's a really important resource that we have today that we just didn't have 20, 30 years ago, the same level. So access and look up for support group meetings online, and we encourage you to get involved with that. So keep your learning going, keep understanding, keep your education going, and click on one of these videos if it seems like it's something that would help you, and we will see you in the next video.
Yes.